So our next panel discussion is a very interesting one on the role of technology and data in supporting the BIMA Trinity, Bima Sugam, Bima Vistaar, and Bima Vaahaks. I'll just be introducing our esteemed panel for the same. We are joined by a star-studded lineup of speakers for this one. Shri Bharat Panchal, Chief Risk Security and Stakeholder Management Officer of Bima Sugam India Federation. Mr. Bharat Panchal is the Chief Risk Officer at Bima Sugam. And before this, he has also served for over 9 years at NPCI, National Payments Corporation of India. Before joining Bima Sugam, Sir was the Chief Regulatory Officer for Discover Financial Services, and before this, he served as a Chief Risk Officer for APAC, Middle East, and Africa with FIS Global. A career spanning decades, he has brought together a lot of insights into fintech, banking, and telecommunication sectors globally. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. Along with Mr. Panchal, joining us is the very dynamic Ms. Shanai Ghosh, CEO and MD of Zuno General Insurance. Shanai, quite a popular personality in the ecosystem, took over as the CEO of Zuno in May 2019, making her the first woman CEO for an Indian general insurance company. A big round of applause for Shanai as she joins the stage. She has been a strong advocate of the transformational power of technology and data that propels her advocacy for data-driven customer centricity in the GI industry. An alumnus of the prestigious IIM Bangalore, Shanai has over 2 decades of experience in banking, financial services, and insurance. Also joining us today is Mr. Vivek Bengani, CEO, CAMS Insurance Repository. Vivek Bengani is the CEO of CAMS and brings together 2 decades of experience in BFSI sector between international and domestic markets. Under his leadership, CAMS Rep has grown to serving 9.5 million electronic policies from 7.5 million e-insurance accounts. Welcome, Vivek. Also joining us, Mr. Mahavir Chopra, founder Beshak, a CA by qualification and 18 plus years of experience in digital insurance distribution. Previous stints at Thomas Cook, EY, Piramal, and Marsh. Welcome, Mahavir. Welcoming to the stage also is Mr. Nilesh Garg, the MD and CEO of Tata AIG General Insurance. Nilesh is the MD of Tata AIG General Insurance and took over this role in October 2015. He's been instrumental in driving the company's growth and development in the GI sector. He comes with 29 years of rich experience, and under his guidance, Tata AIG is now known to be country's leading insurance company. He has previously worked with ICICI Limited and Citigroup. Nilesh is an active member of CIIA National Committee on Insurance and is involved in various policy-making committees set up by the IRDAI. Nilesh has completed his BCom from SRCC and also his MBA from IIM Bangalore. Welcome, Mr. Nilesh Garg, to this esteemed panel.
Okay, so we are here for a very, very interesting discussion. And this is something where we will be actually delving into the future of the insurance space, how insurance will be consumed in the future, how insurance will be sold in the future. And it talks about the role of technology and data in supporting something which is one of the most ambitious projects, I think, that the insurance industry has taken up as a collective measure, which is called BIMA Trinity. The BIMA Trinity basically has three components. The first component is Vistaar, which is the product. The second component is Vaahaks, which is the distribution setup for Vistaar and other products that come in later. And then you have the public infrastructure that is being created, which is something which is very exciting, specifically because we're sitting in an Insurtech conference. It's something that I think a lot of people here would want to hear about, which is basically Sugam, right? So we basically divide this into 3 parts. This is going to be a kind of packed session because there are 3 important aspects of this Trinity that are going to be discussed. We'll discuss Vistaar first. We'll then discuss Vaahaks and the common public infrastructure. And then we discuss something which is very, very important, which is how, for a lot of Insurtech startups here, very important, is how the data flow and how the data exchange will happen between companies so that this becomes a success, right? So we start with Vistaar, which is the product. And I'll take this question to the insurer first, which is Shanai. Shanai, your take on Vistaar and how you think insurers can leverage technology and data to create smart products for the rural and the semi-rural areas, and how can we do this while keeping both the social obligations and the shareholder obligations balanced, right? Is going to be my first question. It's very interesting how this can be shaped in the future, specifically using data and technology.
Um, I think it's undeniable that everyone needs insurance, but at the same time, let's face it, it's not like people are waking up to buy insurance, and insurance still continues to be a push product, right? So very often when I talk to people, especially, let me take the example of home insurance, okay? The perception of risk or the threat that people sense is low. So in my opinion, first to create a product, I think we need to have a product that has reasonable possibility of a claim in the future. And at that point, how do you make the claim extremely simple? So structuring a product in a very, very simple manner and making the claim very simple without the process of, on the ground verification, etc., is where technology can come and play a part, because that's where you will truly start creating the demand at the ground level and start making that inflection points. And therefore, products like Bima Vistaar and the Bima Trinity, let me just talk about Bima Vistaar right now. It is a product that is conceptualized. I think it's a unique initiative in its own. I think all segments of the insurance industry are collaborating to create a product and coming together to create that one product for the consumer at the rural level, because while the person has an insurance need for life, for health, for PA, maybe for home, but we know that, the person on the ground today is not educated enough to make these decisions multiple times. So combining all of it and giving one product to the consumer requires a lot of data, and to understand how we can use some kind of indicators to create this kind of composite product, which can be very simple, which can say if this happens, then this happens, and it's very simply executed on the ground. So I think the power of data and technology in creating this product is immense. But even more important will be actually the way we settle claims. And I'm hoping we do get claims on this product, because if people don't see the claim being paid, they don't experience the product. So for every insurance product that we sell, I know in the industry we get sometimes very happy with low loss ratios. But I think there is a balance that we have to strike. We have to have a loss ratio which means that enough people experience our product on the ground, and how we give that claims experience is going to define the demand. It's not going to change anytime soon. It's a long time. It'll probably take a decade, in my opinion. But we'll have to keep at it. And to that, I would say in the last section, you said, how do you balance the shareholder and the insurers? I think we have to be clear that we are going to be in the investment phase. So it's not something that, will see returns in the near term. But like we were talking about, that project that the Hindustan Unilever project, Shakti Amma, it was started in the early 2000s. So it's been 2 decades, and now they are seeing the impact. In fact, during COVID, I understand that a lot of the rural distribution, a lot of distribution was upheld by these Shakti Ammas, what you call. So I think it requires sustained, persistent efforts by the industry for a period of time before we see returns. And maybe it can be seen as a CSR initiative and eventually transform into a, business initiative.
Right. So actually, the point that you made is very, very important, is that claims actually is the final moment of truth for the customer. I run a platform which is basically customer facing, and we hear only one thing that customers want to talk about in Hindi bhasha mein bol sakta hu ye कि claim मिलेगा क्या, right? That is basically the end goal of people, and people want to see claims getting paid before they buy insurance. So I think claims definitely becomes a very, very important part of ensuring that how a product like Vistaar can do well, specifically in rural and semi-rural areas. I want to ask Vivek, based on your experience, you've been in agency and now you run a customer's first platform. I want to know your perspective from the product side of the story. What do you think how insurers can balance the social obligations that we are talking about, where we are talking about insurance for all by 2047, and at the same time, quarter on quarter, profit targets that insurers have to achieve, right? Growth targets that they have to achieve. So what's your view in terms of when you look at it from, let's say, zoom out and look at it, what's your perspective?
Thanks, Shanai, and thanks, Mahavir, for bringing this up. And thank you, Insurtech Association, to putting this kind of a topic out. I'll just take what Shanai just mentioned, and I think Vistaar as a product is not just an attempt to create a combination of benefits here. What actually is happening is that for the first time we are seeing that there is an alternate way of looking at the customer's risks in life. When we talk to customers, what we realize is that the customer in his mind does not differentiate between health risk, life risk, asset risk, and all of that. He just understands one thing, that there are 50 things which can go wrong in my life, and how can I go ahead and protect myself on it. I think what Vistaar is trying to do is, for the first time, try and create an alternate journey of risk understanding by combining these benefits together. To my mind, why this goes into the heart of the target 2047 for insurance is because I think the current way of looking at designing products has brought us to this 4-5% of penetration.
Right.
Only if we are able to see an alternate way of looking at risk is when the next, as I call them, the next 10 crore customers will get into the insurance net. So therefore, there has to be an attempt, and I'm really glad that the regulator understands it, and it is pushing the industry in saying, why don't you think about it in a different manner? In fact, we all know that there is a proposal to create composite licenses, both for the distribution as well as for the insurer. So this is in some ways laying the path in that direction. Now, the third question becomes important. This is a new way of doing things. Is it going to yield us results immediately? I don't know. We will have to see. But really, for the insurance industry, if they have to capture the next wave of growth, I think this is an imperative investment which has to be made. And right. Customers, at least from our side, when we talk to our 1 crore policy holders, at least we see it very clearly that they are eager to see a different definition of looking at risk.
Very interesting. So, for a product like Vistaar to work, right? India is a distribution-led. India as an insurance industry is a distribution-led industry. So we jump onto Vaahak to understand how Vaahak is going to work, and it seems to be a very promising concept because it takes a leaf out of the book of Shakti Amma, which is basically run by HUL, which Shanai just spoke about, and also banking correspondent, which is something that I learned from Bharat yesterday. So while we are talking about significant investment, sustained investment, Shanai, I want to know from you, what is the kind of common public infrastructure that you expect that gets built so that this can be a sustained long-term journey and it achieves both the goals, which we are talking about right from the beginning of the session, which is social obligations of basically achieving penetration insurance for all by 2047, and at the same time also driving growth for the insurance company. So a few points about what do you think about a public infrastructure being there, which is built by the government or is built by the industry together, and then you reap benefits out of it, both the customer and the insurer.
It's interesting that you asked this question because, as we speak for Bima Vistaar, there is a public infrastructure being built by the industry. In fact, the industry has come together. They have identified a tech partner who is building this infrastructure. And we've realized that a lot of this work requires collaborative effort. So even if you look at, 3 things that have come together. Of course, there's this BIMA Trinity. All of us have heard about the state insurance plan. And we've also heard how the rural and social obligations have changed. So the regulator very purposefully has brought it all together in the effort to move towards insurance for all. Bima Trinity we already know about, but which is actually the Bima Trinity. If I look at the Bima Sugam, Bima Vistaar, and the Bima Vaahaks, in a way they are providing some kind of framework for public infrastructure.
Right.
Social state insurance plan is actually directing, insurers, just like you have lead bankers in every state. That's the concept we have now. We have lead insurers in every state. We have state level insurance committees that are going down to the granular level, engaging with the state machinery to improve awareness and penetration of insurance in the state. And lastly, to ensure that our focus doesn't waver, I think, till it becomes a self-sustaining prospect for us. The regulator at the industry level has said at the industry level you have to start penetration of insurance at a gram panchayat level. And they have not asked us that, you do so many gram panchayats. They've said that at an industry level, at first year you need 25,000 gram panchayats to be penetrated and so on. So I think this has also forced the industry. We've come together, we've identified which are these 25,000 gram panchayats, allocated, and we are going ahead in consultation with each other. And for all of that, there is a common public infrastructure being created. And in the recent Bima Manthan, the chairman did seem to indicate that a lot of that could eventually find its way to Bima Sugam, which is eventually the largest, public infrastructure that we are trying to create, the insurance stack of India.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it definitely, I think it's already underway, and we will see that really coming into shape in the next 1 or 2 years.
Sure. So, Vivek, you just mentioned some time back about, the next level of penetration, which you're saying that, we've hit, let's say, 3-4% of penetration, and will come from doing new stuff, right? One of which is basically public infrastructure, right? I want to know from your point of view, what is the importance of public infrastructure going forward for the industry to grow from here onwards?
I'll just continue the way I mentioned the first part. I think we all understand in the industry that for us to now open the next phase of growth, the investments have to be made to build that we have distribution and servicing capability. Can any single insurer take that bet and put that kind of investment and see that they can reap the benefit? It looks unlikely and probably even not practical for one to do that, because we are such a diverse and a large country. For us to address that, the industry has to come together. And I think what Bima Vistaar is trying to do is again lay a foundation to start with by saying how can we create common distribution that allows us to reach to those places where an individual insurer is not able to reach on their own. And then if you supplement that with a servicing capability, I think then you have a reasonable infrastructure to start looking at building products to be delivered. Today, even if an insurer thinks of underwriting products or trying to distribute products, I think individually it is not possible to do that. And I think it's taking us in that direction. And that I really, again, think it's a visionary way of looking at how we can radically grow insurance in the coming decade in there. And I'm sure Bharat has a lot to add to it as we get to him on this.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people here would love to hear from Bharat. Bharat basically is one of the first few employees at Bima Sugam. He's kind of a founder at Bima Sugam.
Only two employees.
Only 2 employees. So 50% participation from Bima Sugam. And interestingly, he's been a founding member of NPCI also, which built UPI, right? And the chairman has been talking about how Sugam is going to be the UPI moment for the insurance industry. So everyone, I think, here would be very interested to hear about what Bharat feels about it and how does he look at it shaping up in the long term.
Thank you very much. This is my debut match in the insurance industry. But at the same time, it is mark of proof that Bima Sugam has arrived. As Mahavir said, we are only 2 me and Prasun. We both have started on 1st of November. But the fact is that you all have heard about the Bima Sugam and the Bima Trinity and so many things which was so far as a concept. And now we are here to take this forward. Luckily, as Mahavir mentioned, I am one of the founder of NPCI also, where I worked more than 9 years, and I've seen that journey. Not too much of difference. Like, when in 2010, when we were envisaging the vision for that NPCI, we want to make the society less cash society by 2020. We were not aware about there would be a pandemic, there would be a demonetization and things like that. But today, what you see, I'm sure that 90% of you people have not visited ATM for last 6-8 months because you are not carrying cash anymore. I think that is what exactly we want to replicate here in the insurance industry, because if we go with the conventional model of distribution and broker and multiple cycles, it may hold good for 20% people lives in India. But the larger role is to cover 80% people lives in Bharat. How we can bring Bharat and India together and provide, and to come to realize the dream of insurance for all by 2047. Bima Sugam is going to play very, very pivotal role. We all know Mr. Gadkari built lot many express highways today. He doesn't exclude the existing highways or roads, right? He rather connect to the larger highway. That is the role of Bima Sugam. We are going to be and have to be customer-centric, because ultimately we want to make sure that every Indian gets transparent, accessible, affordable, and in all manner, ease of convenience for insurance as a product for every person. To build that road, Bima Sugam has already started working. We are sure, we are very much sure that we will be on time whenever whatever the regulator has decided to launch. But for sure, we are going to bring radical change in the industry. But at the same time, it is not that easy. Let me be very, very honest about that, because you feel that, okay, it's Bima Sugam and they people will carry this whole task along with the regulator and few people in the industry. No, it is not. We need everybody of the industry as a part of this journey, because we are not going to create competition for anybody. We are not a competitor for anybody. We are going to create healthy competition in the industry by providing very, very sophisticated, highly advanced digital marketplace, which will provide sophistication at the same time, secure access to each and everyone who connect to the network. I think there's a larger role Bima Sugam is going to play. Similar to the BIMA Trinity here in insurance sector, we have, many of you might have heard about the Charm Trinity, which even Prime Minister also talks many a time, Jandan, Aadhaar, and mobile. I think these three things has literally radicalized or democratized the payment in the banking industry. Being part of the banking revolution person, I can guarantee you that in India, at least when we started 15 years ago in banking sector, there was no legacy. Today, NPCI or UPA or the banking revolution, that itself is a benchmark not for India, for the rest of the world. That country at size of 1.5 billion people can bring such a radical change in no time. For Bima Sugam, I think we have much more smoother path because we have some comparable model available. Like, she was talking about the Bima Vistaar and the Shakti Amma. Something similar banking has done already, where, at last mile, we cannot reach to each and every Indian providing the banking as a facility. But there is a model called the banking correspondent, BC model, where a person goes with handheld ATM, which has cheap micro ATM, where your biometric authentication is done in lieu of the PIN authentication, and that biometric is connected with the Aadhaar database, where your authentication happen, and all banking transactions are done. Yeah, something similar we may bring. Yeah. We may bring as part of the Bima Vistaar or the whole Trinity. But I'm very much excited where, without the participation of each one of you in this room or from the industry, Bima Sugam may not be a successful dream. So we request, please come forward, come with your idea, come with your suggestion. Even if you think that we are not going the right path, you feel free to criticize in very constructive manner. But we want commitment and participation from everyone from the industry.
Wonderful. I think after seeing the two people who have joined in Bima Sugam, I personally am super bullish about Bima Sugam, to be very honest. A quick question to all the three of you, and it's largely based on what you just mentioned, which is around data and data ownership, data flow, data access between players, and how basically that can empower a lot of InsurTech partners, InsurTech players sitting out here, and how it can basically work out. The key question, and something that we discussed yesterday, and Vivek, you mentioned this a lot about, we spoke a lot about this, was data ownership. And I want to ask this question first to the insurer, because they own the largest amount of data today. Shanai, what's your view about data ownership? What changes you see in the flow of data after technology takes over in terms of Sugam, be it for underwriting, policy issuance, post-issuance claims, is what I would like to hear from you.
Actually, it's interesting. We did have this conversation in the General Insurance Council a while back. In the imminent implementation of DPDP, we do anticipate that there will be obligations for whoever owns the data. And in that, we had clearly understood that Bima Sugam is not the owner, at least that point. I don't know if it's changed, is not the owner of data. The owner of data are the various participants on Bima Sugam, and Bima Sugam is just a facilitator or a marketplace. So in our minds, if a customer comes and buys something on Bima Sugam or services something, the ownership and therefore the responsibility still rests with us. However, it is again our responsibility and a responsibility of Bima Sugam to ensure that the exchange of data is done, that this privacy is respected and protected.
Right. So,
If
yeah,
I may continue to
I
answer
was
your
just
point,
coming to you, Bharat. So basically from your point of view, and you've seen this happening at NPCI in your previous stint, I want to hear your point of view of how the entire consent mechanism will work, how the data will flow in your view.
See, I think good part is that, Bima Sugam is, still to arrive in terms of technology. So we are at the stage where DPDP rules are about to come. So we will have very crystal clear idea at the beginning of our operation that who owns the data. And she rightly said that eventually the insurer, those who are underwriting the policy for any customer, they are the people going to own the data. So that, therefore, they are going to be data principal. We are going to be fiduciary or a processor. That role, I'm not sure that how it will shape, but naturally, the privacy and security, when you are dealing with the digital, they are the two paramount thing, which no one can, kind of give a secondary thought about that. So when we will roll out Bima Sugam, privacy will be taken care, but at the same time, when it comes to security and privacy as far as the whole industry is concerned. See, today the data are available across, and let me tell you, India is the biggest country in the world where we are generating maximum number of data. Unfortunately, we don't have, the Privacy Act so far. Now it is there in place. But in industry, the data are already available in very fragmented manner with multiple people. Probably we may play a role to streamline the ownership and processing and storage of the data, ensuring that security and privacy obligation are compliant across the ecosystem, not only Bima Sugam, but the participant or those who are interacting with Bima Sugam will make sure that everything is seamlessly distributed, implemented across the board.
Awesome. That is a great insight, Bharat. I think we wrap up the session with a quick view that what I have understood from the discussion out here with the folks that I've spoken to right now is it's going to be a tough balance between basically being able to achieve the social obligation, the goal that we've taken of basically achieving insurance for all by 2047, at the same time achieving the shareholder goals that we have, all of us have as being for-profit organizations, of being able to achieve regular, sustainable growth over the long term. And then we talk about things which are basically around the customer, which is basically data ownership, data privacy. A balance of all this is going to be a tough act, but if we really put this act together, I think the next 10 years can be the most exciting times in insurance. Thank you everyone here who participated in this discussion. I think this could have gone ahead by another half an hour, I think minimum, the kind of topic it's a very, very juicy topic, and I was super excited to ask more questions. But in the interest of time, we'll have to wrap it here. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Can I ask one question here? Just if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
I'm Rajkumar from Haritha Insurance Broking, part of TVS Group. Actually, thanks a lot for explaining more about the Bima Sugam roadmap. And as an intermediary, we are a broker, how we can add our value to the Bima Sugam program? How we can participate and what is the roadmap?
I think Bharat would be the right person to answer this.
Hello. Thanks for asking this question. As I rightly said, that we want everybody to participate in that. How that role will take shape, I'm really too early for me to commit. But as I said, that there'll be a definite role for intermediary, definite role for the aggregator, the distributor, the agent, the customers, insurance company, everybody. As I said, this platform is not going to create or going to change the way you are underwriting your policy. We are going to facilitate to make that operation smooth, transparent, and frictionless for everyone those who are participating in this system. So, for sure, when maybe after 3 months down the line, I'll have much more clarity. I'll be in position to answer this question with much more detail. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
afternoon.
You can take one more question? Okay,
Yeah,
great.
this is for Bharat. Just wanted to know from your previous stint in NPC, what was a landmark where there was a strategic change of strategy you would have done in your implementation, or a place where you would have thought, now how do we go ahead? A challenge you would have faced.
Well, everything is challenge here because when you are starting with something greenfield and there is no benchmark. Let me be asked very straight answer to your point. What we are envisaging, or the regulator, the government, and the industry has envisaged to have digital marketplace for insurance for everyone in India. See, there is no comparable model anywhere in the world. Right? So far, and with all due respect to people sitting in this room, we always believe that innovation happens in the Western world, and we try to copy from there, and let's try to fit that use case in our environment. We change that mentality. Look at UPI, look at NPCI, look at the entire banking system, the way it is working today in India, the world is looking at us. I think that was the radical change we brought in banking. And I'm sure that with the same thought process, with the same support. And one more fact I must tell you, though it is election day, it's not political comment, but initially when NPCI was started, there was no political, the government-backed support. It came later on. The first implementation started with the PMJDY, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, after Mr. Modi took over the office. At least in this area, there is a definite commitment right from the top office of this country that we want to bring insurance for everybody. So that will definitely going to help us in terms of the challenge. What you say that yes, there will be challenge. Without challenge, there is no journey. But I'm sure that we'll overcome on all these challenges.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Super, super exciting. Yes, I think it's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.